Well, so it is nearing the end of the year, and usually we like to do some reflections with people who have made the news, and what better person to talk to at this time than Baba himself. Obviously, at a time like this, he is bound to be here in Bondo. This is where we are. This is Bondo constituency, but it is in Siaya County, and this is also his original home county where he comes from, county of Siaya. And so we are going to get in here. This is Opoda Farm. That is where he lives here in Bondo, and we want to see if we can catch him for a conversation. Hey, habari bwana. So tunakuja hapa kuona baba. Tuko na interview. Tumetoka Citizen TV. Yes. My name is Joe Ageyo. Yes. He's expecting us. Asante sana. Okay. So we'll just have to... Oh, and here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Hello.
Welcome to Opoda.
Opoda Farm. Thank you very much.
Karibu, yes.
Yes. Good to be at your place. How is it going?
Fine, good. How is Uyoma?
Good. Merry Christmas. Uyoma is fine. It's not too far from here, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
So how have you been?
No, we're okay. We had some rain last night around here. So the weather is a little bit more comfortable today.
Nice home you've got here.
No.
How long have you been here?
Been here
It's
since...
a well-established home.
No, really. We moved up here from Kang.
Yes, Kanu Jaramogi. I know where the mausoleum is. I went there. I was actually there for Jaramogi's funeral.
Right.
I was, I think, a second-year student at the university at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yes. We came a whole bus
Oh,
from
students.
University.
Yes.
A student, yeah.
This is our original home. This is where my great-grandfather Raila lived.
Oh, yes, the one that you are named after.
Yes. But then they're saying that in those days there were quite a lot of sassafly in this area. Actually,
the one that causes sleeping sickness.
Yes. But he lost one of his wives here.
Yes.
So he decided to migrate down there.
Yes.
And down there he gave birth to 8 sons.
Wow.
Who in turn gave birth to very many others.
It's been an interesting year. I wonder how 2018 has been for you. It started with that ceremony at Uhuru Park, and here we are in 2018 coming to an end. How would you summarize this for you?
Well, I'd say that you take a journey down the memory lane to a period like this last year.
Yes.
This is the Christmas Eve. This place here was in a mourning mood here. I remember on the Christmas day, I went to our home church down there at Jaramogi. And after the prayers, I was asked to greet the congregation. And one of my sisters-in-laws, she's called Frida, Dick. She stood up with a Bible and came to me where I was standing.
I remember that.
And handed me over the Bible and said, Shemeji, we are swearing you in here today.
Just do it. Here is the Bible. I remember that very well.
So the swearing in was the mood here.
Yeah.
It was a somber mood at that time. And people were in mourning because a number of people had also lost their lives and people were wounded. And you can say that a big part of Kenya was in a somber mood.
So this swearing in idea, where did it come from? When you met, maybe after the results and the dispute around it, how does this idea come, like, let's have a swearing in ceremony?
No, we had said that we were not going to take results which are cooked up lying down. And remember we had said wakipiga tunapiga, wakijumlisha tunajumlisha, wakihesabu tunahesabu, wakirusha tunarusha, wakitangaza tunatangaza, wakiiba tunawanasa, na wakijiapisha tunajiapisha. That was like a tail end of it at the end. So when the results were contested and nullified, then there was supposed to be a subsequent repeat. And when we were not happy with the arrangements, then a decision was taken that, well, now that they have sworn in, we should also move on and swear ourselves in. It was a logical consequence. So it was not like something that was taken out of the blues. It was a part of the strategy that we would conclude and would just go parallel.
Now this oath that you are going to take, there is something you read there. Where was it written? Or is it something that you had prepared in good time, in readiness for the main swearing in if it were to happen?
Yeah, that thing had been looked at, prepared by our lawyers for that occasion. In fact, we even had what you can call dummy swearing in.
You did some rehearsals?
Rehearsals. In the event that they blocked us,
yes,
we would show this. We release the videos.
A lot of people would find that very interesting, that actually behind the scenes there were all these scenarios that if they do this, we are going to do this. Just give us a picture of how that was going on. For example, that day you were going to Uhuru Park. What were you expecting? What had you anticipated would happen to you, for example?
There were two schools of thought. Those who were saying that it might be too risky, that we should look for other ways of achieving what we wanted. Then there were the others who were saying that there will be no talks unless we move these people through pressures to agree to have some talks. So a decision was taken that, well, we must live with the consequences of this because this is impunity. And if the other party does not want to play by the rules, then nobody else is beholden to respect the rules.
After the swearing, what had been the original plan? You know, as you were talking about, so we go and take the oath. I have always wondered what was supposed to happen after the swearing in. Were you going to set up an administration from the strategies that were there?
Yes, we would set up an administration. You see, we would basically decide that if these people are not ready to talk, we are going to set up a parallel administration, you see. And you remember at that time there were different schools of thought. Yes. Those who said after the swearing in, we should now remove all the portraits of the president.
They started doing that actually in some places. They pulled them down.
Premises, but they had not gone the full hog,
yes,
which was to heap them in and set them on fire.
Wow. And
then start collecting taxes in our strongholds.
Wow.
And running a parallel administration.
But they didn't arrest you. A lot of people wondered why they did not arrest you. Because they arrested people. They charged people in court. People like Ajuang, people like Miguna, all of them. So did you wonder why they did not come for you? Were you expecting them to come and arrest you?
No, then they were asking us to talk. And but I said, no, we will not talk under the current situation. Yeah. Because you guys have been talking about the Big Four agenda.
Yes.
And you're only ready to talk about the Big Four. But as far as elections are concerned,
Yes.
it's a closed chapter. There's a wait for 2022. And you said, no, we want to talk about 2017. So later on they came back and said, they are ready to talk.
Tell me about that. I mean, this is something that I don't think anyone has actually said out there. How did you get to that point where you have a handshake? Because it surprised a lot of people. I remember even in our newsrooms, we actually just got to learn about it minutes before it happened. So how do we move from this extreme where there is talk of treason, there are two sort of swearing in ceremonies that have taken place, and then suddenly these two people who have not been seeing eye to eye are standing on the steps of Harambee House to shake hands? Who called who? What happened?
I really don't want to go into who called who. That is a subject for another day.
I thought that would be this day, but
no,
hey.
this is not a day.
Yes.
But finally, when the conditions were acceptable to both of us, then we agreed that we'd meet.
Okay, let me ask this then. Let me try it this way. Even if it is the farthest you will go, was it some people in the background, or is some direct talks immediately before this happened? Were there things that were happening in the background, or was it direct, face to face? You know, even when there are conflicts, usually there are people who start testing the waters, and then finally there are what they call face to face talks. That's what they say in diplomacy and mediation.
Yeah, there will always be what you call people who do the footwork, the preliminaries, the arrangements. But I can assure you, there are not more than two people.
Wow.
One from each side.
Wow.
Okay? And those two people then arranged for the two people to meet.
Okay, now there's a lot to talk about, but I think there's also a lot to see. So I would like us to continue this conversation as you show me around, because you told me you have
Plenty.
you have some other activities. This
see,
is Christmas.
First, you need to see down there. See those boxes there.
Yeah.
Those are beehives.
Oh, beehives.
Yeah.
Wow. So where do you get your beehives from?
Mama is the one doing this, right?
Okay, great.
And she's there. So she started this because we've got a lot of flowers around here.
To move closer without the special. Okay, great. Okay. So were you a great student of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere? Because I've heard some of the Kiswahili words you speak, but also you have a lot of quotes that usually seem to come from there.
Mwalimu was like, my mentor, politically. I mean, I liked his style of doing politics. Yes. He was fairly intellectual in his approach. He analyzed the society very well, and he had a great vision. You see, but he lived ahead of his time.
The story seems to have been quite different from here. As someone who studied politics for a long time, where did we get it wrong? And yet Mwalimu seems to have got it completely right on that side, at least on building the nation. Correct.
You see, we took completely different routes or directions. We told people to disabuse themselves of their ethnic origins and see themselves as sons and daughters of one nation, one country, Tanzania. Okay? So people, because the leader was preaching it, the leadership around him emulated it, and it became then one uniting factor for people. So that in Tanzania, if you ask somebody from which tribe are you, we'll tell you, we're in Kenya. Hapa Tanzania hatuulizi yale.
Yes, we do know.
Hapa Tanzania tunauliza umetoka jimbo gani?
Yes.
Lakini sio wewe ni kabila gani? Hapa tuna kabila. Kabila yetu ni Tanzania.
We lost it totally, yeah.
See? So, you know, when he left office, he left it to Mwinyi.
Yes.
Who came from Zanzibar. It's a small island. And then Mwinyi then left it to Mkapa. Mkapa came from a very small, tiny community in the border with Mozambique, a place called Mtwara. Then, after Mkapa came Kikwete, who comes again from a very small community around Bagamoyo. And then Kikwete has now left it to Magufuli. He comes from a sub-tribe of Sukuma. He don't have Sukuma.
But that gentleman is a good friend of yours. Now that you talk about Magufuli, I've heard people say all manner of things. When he started, they were saying, oh, yeah. In fact, somebody said that every country in Africa needs a Magufuli. But there are people who say that maybe he's taking it a bit too far. Do you think that there is a challenge going on there? I mean, speaking as a journalist, I know there are many of my colleagues there who have been jailed, and many Tanzanians tell me that whereas he's been trying to fix things like corruption and all of these things, the freedoms, the democratic space seems to have shrunk quite a bit.
Magufuli has been having his own experiments, things that he's trying to do.
Yes.
He said he inherited a fairly corrupt system.
Yes.
People were not paying taxes. You know, you had a similar situation to what we have here. Revenue collection was very poor. You had people, this Okupe. Because you see, in our society here, the boys in the town are the revenue collectors, the KRA officers, the customs officers. All these are the people. The ones who are buying apartments in towns, the ones who are driving the latest models of cars, the ones who are building castles in the rural areas, the ones who are building skyscrapers in the village buckets.
Yes.
Okay, so when they clamped down on those, the revenue collection went up nearly 10 times. So all of a sudden he had money to do his work. And then he also took proper action against the corrupt. Fortunately for him, the judiciary was
Playing ball.
Unlike in our situation here, you see, where you find people who have been committed in Jersey Island. They were needed there for trial. You are asking for the money, but you cannot get the people to go and be tried. The Kenyan courts will not have that boldness.
Supposing you had become president by now, whether it was in 97, 2007, 2013, or even now, where would that conversation be, at least from your end?
I would push very hard. I would use my position to really push very hard and create the conversation at the top there. And get the people to see that, look, we are in these small states. We want faster development, but we cannot achieve it because our market has also constraints. You ask the question, why is it that the Europeans have the EU working?
So you do the...
Those are bigger economies.
The feeds here for...
Yeah, the Napier. Napier here. The farm is bigger, down toward the river there.
Okay.
Where we grow Napier.
Oh, wow.
You see? That's called Ngilu.
Oh, Ngilu.
Yeah.
It's called Ngilu, that one?
Yeah.
Okay, and this one is called Maseno. And this one? Sudia. Ah, okay. Okay, interesting. Yes, I know that It's very interesting.
Manduli not though. We had Manduli also. Is the mother of this.
You need to replace Manduli. And now you have a role in the AU. What is that? What is that role? Because I'm aware you've been traveling a little bit. I saw you in Addis Ababa. I think you were in West Africa at some point as well. What is that role exactly? What does it entail?
Well, my role is called the High Representative on infrastructure development of the continent. Here, infrastructure, we mean energy, we mean roads, we mean railway, we mean the ICT, the fiber optic network, and also open skies,
Yes.
the air transports. Those are the main issues.
That sounds very exciting. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, I have traveled to many African countries in the line of my work, but it's very incredibly difficult to move around Africa. For example, even just flying to a place like Burundi would be so expensive, and you don't understand why. Yet in other countries, if you were in Europe, for example, hopping from Geneva to Vienna to Amsterdam, whatever, it's actually quite easy and quite cheap. What are you going to do about this? What conversations are you having now?
You see, first, if we begin, for example, that is now air transport.
Yes.
There's what they call the Yamoussoukro Declaration of 1988, which basically commanded the African countries to open their skies and allow for free transport, that the airline can originate from one destination to the other without necessarily charging too much fees, transit fees. That, from the time it was signed up to now, and it was adopted, only now 27 countries have actually ratified it. And I think 21 have ratified, 27 total have signed, okay, out of 54 states. That means that, you see, traveling still becomes very expensive. If you don't have that signed, it means for every passenger in a commercial airline, each country charges a certain amount of money for flying the airspace.
The airspace, yes.
So this is what the government is supposed to fill.
Okay.
Now, by engaging with heads of states,
Yes.
to tell them that, look, we have got this open skies agreement, which your country has failed, up now has not ratified. And these are the benefits which you will get. Can you agree to sign? Okay? That's one. The other one, there are roads, highways. You should call the Trans-African highways.
Yes.
Like you have got the Great North Road, Cape to Cairo.
Cape to Cairo, yes.
Then you've got another one from Tunis to Cape.
Yes.
Okay? Then these are for molasses.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Molasses, which you mix with this.
Oh, for the feed.
For the feed.
When are you ever the father, the grandfather you are now, the husband? How does that work for you?
No, I mean, you just need to divide your time. You do politics, but you also don't forget the family.
Yes.
So, like in the evenings, I'm at home. With my grandchildren.
It must have been difficult for you, especially in the midst of the politics. I was speaking to Rosemary earlier, and yeah, she's recovered quite well. How has that been for you? I mean, because it came not too long after the Fidel tragedy. Some people say you are a very strong man.
No, it was a major drawback. You can say it just hit like a thunder. And we were in the middle of a campaign.
I remember that.
See, we were flying to Turkana when Winnie got this message. And we didn't realize it was that serious. And then but then they had communicated with Ida, fortunately, because she tried to call the hotel in Naivasha.
Yeah, she said that we had an interview with her. She said she was in Naivasha.
She was attending this liberal Democratic Union.
Training some women. Politicians. Yeah.
And she'd gone there with her kids because they were on holiday. We have a holiday thing there in Naivasha. That's where they were staying. Then this thing attacked. The kids were there. They couldn't finish. But before it became bad, she called her secretary. Who then called the hotel. And then they came, they knocked, they couldn't open, they broke the door. And then they took her from there. Then she was in coma. She was comatose after the operation in Nairobi for 8 days. So we had to send her by air ambulance to South Africa.
Yes.
But she stayed for 3 months. So Ida had to actually take up an apartment in Joburg. They stayed there. She was on a wheelchair and so on. She came back here.
Yeah, she told me she had to relearn a lot of things.
We went to Israel briefly, came back. Then it is the Chinese physiotherapist who discovered that something is not adding up here. So he took a scan. And then he saw that the aneurysm, which had burst, was recurring.
Yes.
And another one next to it, which was not done. And there was also a tumor. So he sent this scan to a professor in China, Peking University, who sent and said this thing is an emergency. So they flew. Around this time, last year, that is where we were. So Ida went with Rosemary to China. And they took 2 days examining. And then they decided that they do a 3-in-1 operation. About 10 professors. They did that operation. It lasted about 10 hours.
Wow.
But by the time they wheeled her out of the theater, she was conscious. Put her in ICU for 3 hours and discharged her after 3 hours, took her to a general ward. And she could talk.
Wow.
On the phone. Here she'd taken 8 hours.
So they
8 days.
figured it out. Yeah.
She could not talk.
Wow.
After 6 days, they removed the stitches. After 7 days, she was discharged from the ward to rehab. 3 days, she was discharged.
Wow.
So 12 days, from the time they left here, they were on the plane coming, and she was walking,
wow.
She was talking.
Wow, amazing, amazing.
See,
amazing.
That's Chinese technology.
Amazing, amazing.
See, that one, she had taken 3 months.
We had an interview with her the other day, and she actually talked about the great family support system that she's had during this period. It's amazing that in the middle of all of these things, you are going through a very difficult time as a family, and people didn't even realize it.
People didn't realize it because...
Well, I mean, yes, you know, there was a lot of politics and difficult politics at that. If this handshake succeeds, how you have envisioned it, what is that final picture looking like for this country?
When we discussed all these things, we said that Kenya has been divided from that time. How did that unity die? It is, I've seen, like I was seeing those discussions yesterday on TV. They miss a point because they're talking about ideological differences that Jaramogi and Kenyatta. Jaramogi was pro.
Tell us, what was that? What was the difference between them?
The difference issue was about land. The difference between Kenyatta and Jaramogi is just about land. That the British came up with the idea, because this was the settlers who had occupied what was called White Highlands, did not want to stay under an African government. They wanted out. They wanted their farms to be bought from them. And the British government came up with an idea of giving the Kenya government a loan to buy the land, to own land to Kenyans, to buy those white farms. Jaramogi, Kagia, and the rest, that group said no. Why should we buy our land for these people? They took it for free. They farmed it. They should give it back for free. And the ones who should pay us something. Yes. Then there's a group led by Boya and Kiano and so on who said we should agree to compensation. Okay? That is the crack for the matter. In the end, Kenyatta sided with this other group after he was invited to a meeting in Nakuru. And that is the cause of the division. Remember, Kagia was asked to resign from the government.
Here you are, the two of you, who either by coincidence or whatever other means are now here with this opportunity to make things right. Is that how you look at it, and is it going to work?
No, what we said was that we can make it work if we stand together and unite with the other Kenyans, okay? Because we know the cause of the problem of Kenya, okay? Because in between came the elites, because ethnicity is an elitist disease. The elite are the ones who, in competition to share resources in the country, resort to the ethnicity. You know, or we are the ones who are in power. Power is being taken away from us. We must defend it, this and that.
Our turn.
It's our turn to eat.
This 2022 talk, you are not engaged in it. You are not thinking about it. You have not made decisions about it.
Not at all. Not at all. And I've said so many times, if I were going to run, I would say it. Okay? But I've not said it. Other people are saying it, that Raila is going to be a candidate, who is trying to make Raila. Uhuru has not said anything, neither have I said anything. Okay, so, but you understand. If I start now to campaign, you know, this country will be in a campaign mood straight away tomorrow. Eh? And nobody will be talking about big four agenda.
Yes.
Eh? Eh? Do you want to bring the country into a campaign mood this early?